Dusan Vlahovic recently equaled Cristiano Ronaldo's record of 33 Serie A goals in a single calendar year. Had things gone his way against Hellas Verona recently, he would have broken that record, but if I had wheels, I'd be a bicycle. What's for sure, he's been on an incredible run at Fiorentina, and the interest in him from Europe's elite seems justified. Hi there, welcome to the Christmas tree. The thing that will make watching this video in the future feel a bit strange, but hey, that's okay. Anyways, guys, today we'll be joined by Tito from Viola Nation, to whom I've linked to below, to get all of the details on Dusan Vlahovic, his time at Fiorentina, his style of play, his strengths, his weaknesses, and his current contract situation. I learned a lot from Tito, and now it's your turn to do the same. And if you're bored this Christmas, then Boxing Day will provide a perfect time to utilize our sponsor's app, SPITCH. Previously only available in Germany and some other countries, it is now launching in the UK and Ireland for anyone over the age of 18. And guys, this is a fun way to play fantasy football and, maybe win some cash, if you're good enough. SPITCH is the ultimate fantasy football app, and that is licensed by plenty of competitions, from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, the Champions League, and more. Choose your 11 and captain what pitch to compete in, and compete against your friends and people all over the world live as the matches happen. And also, SPITCH will be blessing your holiday period with free-to-play pitch on Boxing Day, as well as the chance to win all sorts of prizes like AirPods, PlayStation cards, signed football merchandise, and much more. Or just cash, so you can buy your own AirPods or whatever. So use the link in the description to download SPITCH now for free and get amongst it. Win some stuff. And let's get back to the video. Thank you, SPITCH. We salute you. All right, I'll give a little background, and then we'll get into it with Tito from Viola Nation to get into the nitty-gritty. Dusan Vlahovic was born and raised in Belgrade, Serbia, and upon turning 15 in 2015, he joined Partizan Belgrade and went on to break many records there. In February of 2016, at 16 years of age, he made his Serbian Superliga debut, becoming Partizan's youngest ever player to represent the club in the league. He became the youngest goal scorer in Partizan's history, and even managed to score in the cup final in his debut season. Just over a year later, it would be announced that Fiorentina were to sign the tall Serbian striker as soon as he turns 18, leaving his Partizan goal-scoring record at 3 goals from 27 appearances. Nothing that screams phenom or future dominant force in Serie A scoring charts, right? Well, he clearly passed the eye test, even if his scoring statistics weren't anything to write home about at that time. And it's a good thing the eye test exists, because he was given an opportunity and he has gone on to take full advantage of it, becoming one of the most dangerous attackers in Serie A. He scored 21 goals last season across all competitions from 40 appearances. This season, he's well on his way to smashing that record with 18 goals scored already after just 22 appearances. Let's go back to the beginning of his time with Fiorentina with Tito. He arrived at Fiorentina, 18 years old, and he first started to get some first team minutes in that 2018-19 season. Unfortunately, couldn't grab any goals. And so my question for you about that sort of era is, what was it like in that first season with the club? Was it plain to see that he would become the player that he is now, or has this sort of come as a surprise in some ways?
It's a little bit of both, I think. He was clearly really, really raw when he first arrived. I mean, he's just this enormous man-child. He was the same size he is now as a teenager. We nicknamed him the very large teenager. That's what we were calling him on the site. He was obviously an incredible athlete, just very strong, very quick for someone his size. Wonderful technique, wonderful touch. Didn't really understand the off-ball movement at all, and his finishing was woeful, let's go with. He missed a bunch of really good chances from like 8 yards out, and we were all wondering, is this really the guy? Even last season at the start, before Cesare Prandelli took over, he was bad. A lot of people wanted him loaned out. A lot of people wanted to see Christian Kouame or Patrick Cutrone starting instead, and then the switch just flipped almost overnight, it felt like, and all of a sudden he was this big, strong bully who could score a whole lot of goals off of very, very few opportunities, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, the Patrick Cutrone, if you guys had taken that route, that guy's been all over the place at this point. It was such a bright start to his career. But anyway, we'll leave the Cutrone bashing aside for now. But Well, I want to speak to you about what kind of striker Vlahović is. I mean, you sort of alluded to it. It sounds like he's a bit of a physical force, but just so I can get a clean take of it, would you say that he's, the type that's constantly looking to play off the shoulders of the defender and get in behind? Does he like to hold up the ball and link with the people around him, or just bully defenders, or all of the above, really?
He's capable of doing all of them. He's much quicker than you expect him to be. If you give him space to run in behind, he's more than happy to do it. But his real bread and butter is just putting his back on a defender, holding up the ball, turn his man. He's also very happy to spread play this year. He's developed a much better game linking play, I think, especially spreading it to the flanks. He's created a few goals for his teammates and for himself. Last year that was the thing that we said was missing, and then he added it. So he's really got everything at this point. He still has a little bit of a clumsy touch at times. He occasionally overthinks what he's doing when he gets a little closer to the goal. But I mean, he's the leading scorer in Serie A for a reason. He's an unbelievably talented player. I don't think there are really any teams in the world he wouldn't improve. Maybe he wouldn't beat out Haaland. Maybe he wouldn't beat out Lewandowski. Maybe Benzema. And I think that's probably the only three strikers in the world who might be better right now.
I mean, that's in good company to keep, isn't it? It really is. And that was something that I wanted to ask you about, actually, was his weaknesses. Would you say that it's mostly his touch, or, you said that his finishing was woeful when he first got there. Is that something that he's completely cleaned up? Is he the type of striker that needs 3 chances and he'll score 1, or is he more of a 6 chances, score 1 kind of guy?
He's a 3-score-1. He's frequently a half-score-1. If you look at his expected goals numbers, he's not getting great service, and he's doing quite a bit with it, let's say. I mean, his composure is incredible. I think that's visible, particularly in his penalty-taking record. He hasn't missed one as a pro. For weaknesses, I think it's that occasionally he gets a little too into his own head. I think that was what Prandelli really unlocked, was the mental side for him more than anything else. He can get frustrated. Sometimes his body language is a little bit negative, a little bit pouty. Again, usually with reason, because this is Fiorentina we're talking about. It's not like they're really setting him up for success. He gets a little bit down on himself and his teammates at times, although again, his mentality is remarkable. Everyone at the club talks about his focus, his hunger, his desire to be the best player he can be. And that, I think, combined with his agent, is definitely a weak point for anyone who's looking to pick up his services. Darko Ristic, allegedly a little bit of a character, and probably not who anyone really relishes working with.
Yeah, I want to get to that a little bit later. We'll definitely speak about the agent and what's going on with the contract, etc. But for now, how would you say he's best employed? How is Fiorentina utilize him best? Is it as a single striker? Does he need someone to sort of play off of, or it sounds like he's perfectly fine if you just hoof the ball up to him and he can hold it up and sort of generate something himself?
Yeah, he's been playing in the middle of a 4-3-3 this year. Under Vincenzo Italiano, and he's looked obviously very good doing it. He's got the physical ability, the strength, the mobility to lead the line himself. More than happy to do that. He occasionally gets some support from Nico Gonzalez or from Ricardo Saponara drifting inside, but he's mostly just isolated up there and battling with defenders. Last year, he was part of a nominal front two with Franck Ribéry, who generally played much, much deeper. Vlahović has spoken in the past about how he does like having a second striker playing behind him, because he does win a lot of knockdowns. He's going to win a lot of balls in the air. I think he likes to play, bring down the ball, lay it off, and then make that run in behind. That's something that he really enjoys.
I know this isn't always helpful, and we're not going to do this as part of is he the next insert blank player? But if you were to sort of think of a player that he reminds you of, that he's sort of reminiscent of, is there anyone that comes to mind right away?
Olivier Giroud, not quite as good passing, but much better finishing. I think the Ibrahimovic comparisons are close-ish, but not really the same. Vlahović not as interested in shooting from 40 yards out. He doesn't have the just outrageous dribbling technique that Ibrahimovic did when he was younger. The Haaland comparisons, they're both really, really large boys. I think that's about where the comparisons end. Just a really traditional, old school, rugged number 9. A more clinical Olivier Giroud.
That's a pretty good comparison, actually. Now, I know that Olivier Giroud, when he was at Arsenal, was sort of a meme status striker, but he's definitely built his reputation up to a better place since then. And so, as we mentioned earlier, the whole contract situation, because there seems to be a lot of misinformation out there, especially, I've seen multiple articles, Tito, that have said that his contract is ending this summer. Some say that it's ending next summer, but from what I've gathered, it feels like it's 2023 that his contract is up, no?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and what's going on with the negotiations here? Because I've heard that they've offered them the biggest contract in the history of Fiorentina, and he still said no, and no side seems to really be moving. So what's going on, man?
That would be a wonderful thing to know about. From what I've gathered in the press and from talking to people at the club, it sounds like, his contract runs out in 2023. They obviously wanted to sign him to an extension because he's the best young striker in Europe, maybe non-Holland division. So Fiorentina basically put all their eggs in the Vlahović basket last year. They decided to play him ahead of Christian Kouamé, ahead of Patrick Cutrone, let him get that experience even when he was misfiring. And it worked. He turned out to be exactly the player they would have hoped, except they forgot to lock him down to a new contract, which whoopsie, right? So they started offering him extensions, I think last summer, but they kept on trying to lowball him, and he kept on asking for, they would offer him a wage of 1.2 million when he was asking for 2, and then he scored more goals. He was asking for 2.5, and they offered him 1.8, and this just kept going over and over and over. And eventually, his agent said that they were not going to sign any new contract with Fiorentina, which is frustrating, but again, you understand, guy's got to do what's best for him, for his career. The problem here is that a whole bunch of people, many of whom are pretty credible, have said that his agent, Darko Ristic, has put an agreement in place with Juventus to either, good sideways look, precisely, to either sign him for free in 2023 or to get him on a real cheap deal when he's only got a year left on that contract, which naturally a lot of Fiorentina fans aren't very happy about, as you can imagine. So that's kind of where we are. It's an extremely awkward situation, made even more awkward by the fact that Juventus may now not have the financial ability to sign him, opening the door for someone else. So it's just an absolute mess right now, if I'm being honest. It's super awkward. He's scoring all these goals. He still clearly likes the city. He still celebrates with the fans. They're still cautiously accepting of him, I'd say. They're still not thrilled that he wants out, of course, but I mean, he's the best player on the team and has shot you into 7th place right now. That's pretty great for Fiorentina after a rough few years. I think if Fiorentina gets a chance to sell him for crazy money to Manchester City, for example, I've heard Barcelona's interested, although if I'm being honest, I don't see him as a Barcelona-style player. He's more of a battering ram than a tippy-tappy, light-footed, beautiful passing kind of player. But I think if City comes in with 100 million or so, I'm pretty sure that Fiorentina will grab that and call it good. The trick, of course, is getting him and his agent to accept that kind of move. It sounds like Ristic accepted a reported commission from Juventus of somewhere north of 10 million euros for this deal. So there's just all of these different moving parts, and no one really knows how it's going to play out at this point, other than that Dušan is for sure leaving Florence.
There's certainly going to be an absolute dogfight for Vlahović. And I think what I find interesting about him is his current trajectory. He's had a rapid rise in the last year or so, and what Tito said about his work ethic and his overall professional mentality would lead me to believe that so long as he continues on this path, he's a safe bet to be an elite striker for plenty of years to come. Mentality, work ethic, and natural ability. Anyways, guys, that will do it for this video. Be sure to check out Viola Nation for all of your Fiorentina needs in English. But beyond that, thank you once again for spending your time with me, and have a very happy holidays. Ciao.